Yes and no. When I first left, I was just happy to be getting educated by the sages and someone else on someone else's rings, and my orders were simply to listen and report. As the time drew near, my commands were to win them over, a little at a time, to the notion of surrender. But I failed. The elders of the school grew defiant of the militant minds won out. These are tearsmen, after all. I didn't deliver the surrender, and it took the overlord's edict to end what I was sent to do. Thank you for telling me. Now, no more secrets. Understood? I will endeavor to earn your trust as best I can. Sorry to have given you reason for doubt. Let's speak of something else. How do you feel about Kairos? How can I not help but find him to be the most captivating person alive? The man has bent empires, claimed continents. Where he goes, history follows. I won't deny he has killed millions at least, but I contend more would have died in petty wars across Terratus in the void of Kairos. I've seen what tiny despots, merchants, fables, and mage guilds can inflict in the aims of all sorts of righteous causes. I will take the rule of Kairos over the tyranny of every idiot on Terratus. Huh.
I am nothing if not a semi-reliable font of knowledge. What did you want to discuss?
Arcane matters.
And I'd be happy to oblige. Ever since the fall of the Vellum Citadel, it is hard to find someone with whom I can discuss such things.
What do you know of Kairos' edict? Kairos has cast many over the ages, and to my knowledge has never worded two edicts exactly the same. Edicts defy our understanding of magic. Kairos' magic works over vast distances, over indefinite durations, and no archon or mere mage can counter the force of an edict. What can you tell me of edicts in general? I explain it to my students like this: a spell is to an edict as a drop of rain is to a hurricane. Edicts and spells are both magical cantrips, but differ in intensity by orders of magnitude. Edicts are almost commands to Terratus that must be carried out until the instructions allow for the magic to end. If Kairos wants a plague until next Judge's Day, expect copious boes until next Judge's Day. Nothing has ever dispelled an edict, nothing outside the edict's own sunset clause, as I like to think of them. I wonder if that's going to end up, if we're going to end up doing something as such. Finding a way around an edict and ending it. I'm curious about a specific edict. Any thoughts on the Edict of Execution cast on the Vendrins Valley? It seems like the Archons were about to kill each other, and the threat of mutual destruction was about all Kairos had left. I imagine fear is the only way to get someone like the Voices of Nira to follow orders, and the Edict certainly did whip them into action. Of course. Edict of Stone. The Edict of Stone ravaged the realm of Azure. The upheaval of earth and rock turned the rolling plains into a craggy steep step known as the Stone of Sea. Since the edict was directed at the traitorous Archon of Stone, it would seem the upheaval of Azure was a secondary consequence, though I imagine little of what Kairos does is unintentional. What did you know of the Edict of Fire? I was there when the ground erupted with fire, and I don't think I remember ever being as terrified as I was that day. If I hadn't woken early, I'd have likely perished in my sleep or woken to the experience of being immolated. I have very conflicted feelings about this matter. The school of Ink and Quill had every opportunity to surrender. The leadership chose to stand against the most powerful force on Terratus. While this is all very terrible, it was entirely preventable. I mean, that is kind of true. Or pretty true. Very true. It's very true. It's true, guys. You'll think me crazy, but there's a part of me saddened I lived through an edict of fire. Kairos has used this before. I figure if I'm going to have years taken off my life fleeing an edict, would have been nice if it was a historical first. Edict of Storms. I would think you know more than most of the subject. I watched the great interest when it happened, but fleeing the Edict of Fire was a more pressing concern. The Edict of Storms turned the once forested lands of Stalwart into a wind-swept wasteland. They call it the Blade Grave now, since only the iron and bronze armaments remain. Hurricane breezes, rust winds, and relentless lightning have destroyed the housing and farmlands. Do edicts work on the same arcane principles as spellcraft and other magic?
Edicts are the strongest manifestation of magic we know, and they seem to violate all other lesser phenomena. No dispel cantrip has ever dented or abated an edict. Even archons with powers of great durability cannot shrug off their effects. Just look at Cairn. Now, what I find curious, edicts can flex a little. Or so my studies suggest this is the case. Take the Edict of Storms. While the day it was proclaimed was the most violent, the actual radius of the storm has changed over time. But most will have none of my hypotheses on this matter.
Fine, I'll take the bait. What's your conjecture about edicts?
So, in my studies, some edicts resolve some problem of the overlords and then vanish into history. But the edicts that linger around, almost all of them begin to widen. Their effects become more intense.
Huh.
Here's the intriguing part. The older the edict, and the more that's written about it, the more the reports of that edict get more dire over time.
That's... Perhaps edicts have a life of their own once set in motion.
Something to that effect, at least. I contend that edicts are powered by fear. Fear of Kairos helps fuel the casting, and fear of the edict feeds the magic, sustaining it, and, if enough people fear it, even growing it a bit.
Huh. Huh. Rule by fear is certainly Kairos' way.
Intellectual honesty demands that I study the matter more. If I'm correct, the more people fear and obsess over an edict, the stronger it becomes. Anyway, another study for another time. And I'd be happy to oblige. Ever since the fall of the Vellum Citadel, it is hard to find someone with whom I can discuss such things.
Huh. What do you know of the magic of the Archon? Sorry, I'm like trying to think it in my head. One thing that's one thing I'm really bad about, that I mean really bad about, is I will have thoughts in my head, but but I can't figure out a way to actually voice them. That's something I really have trouble with. Especially for like scenarios like this, where I will actually start thinking in my head, but yet my brain process may be able to understand it, but it won't. But it has some, like right now, it's just like it's like think. The gears are just like, you can see the steam just coming out of my ears. Just it's like, anyways, it's just I had trouble trying to voice my thoughts on this kind of stuff. It really pisses me off. I have trouble voicing thoughts. Which is why sometimes my mouth runs faster than my brain does. And that has gotten me into a lot of trouble. Anyways, what do you know about the magic of the Archons? I've studied many of the Archons for many years. Compared to the other sages, I'm an expert on the subject, which is sad because I feel like I've still so much to learn. How does the magic of Archon work? The Archons have magical powers that are intuitive. When the voices of Nerat pulls out someone's mind or Graven Ash protects his soldiers, that magic isn't a signed spell or a ritual. To them, it's closer to flexing one's hand. Archons are what's the word for it? Axiom of magic, the root of magic, spell pioneers? While every guild or school of magic was ascribed different a name to the theory, all mages inevitably stumble upon an inescapable fact. Only the Archons can will magic into being. Everyone else can only cast magic by invoking the sigil. The Archon that has came before. None know how the Archons do their magic. Oh. Seems to be different with each Archon, but the theory suggests that once an Archon starts to invoke their powers, anyone else who comes after that Archon could, with the proper knowledge, tap into the power with the proper sigil and know-how. This observed law has given rise to a common question from young students. Could one guess at a sigil of an Archon not yet born, or not remembered by history, or simply unknown to the caster, successfully cast a spell? Experienced mystics would tell you this is impossible, for they know that it's not enough to just mimic the gesture of a signal. One must have a willful, conscious knowledge of the Archon and the intent of intended power being channeled. I'm sure this analogy is off in many ways, but I see Archons as the mothers of original magic and everyone else is just imitating them. To confuse things a bit, some Archons learn to cast other spells in the same fashion as us lesser mages. If you are as important as an Archon, you learn quick that all knowledge is power. I've studied many of the Archons for many years. Compared to the other sages, I'm an expert on the subject. Oh, wait, hold on. Are all Archons loyal to Kairos? Officially, yes. In actuality, no. Those with a true gift for magic always come to the attention of Kairos. A few managed to evade attention for a bit. The School of Tides was founded by one such uncontrollable, but these are our history's exceptions. Occulted, okay, occulted Jade, Archon of Tides, never bowed to Kairos, and it said that she survived the assassins sent to silence her. It makes her flight from Kairos before the war all the more troubling. We knew her as the symbol of strength, but when threatened, her weaker nature won. When we write biographies of the Archons, we often refer to them as exarchs in their formative years before stepping into their prime, but officially Kairos is supposed to grant all titles of Archon. It's quite the faux pas to self-appellate. By the way, that's not the first time I ever actually read that or heard that word. Anyways, exactly why Jade insisted on calling herself Archon of Tides. She didn't need Kairos' approval to wear the title she deserves, and I know she loved the fact that doing so must have annoyed Kairos. These two going at it is awesome. It's funny. I've studied many of the Archons for many. Okay, how is an Archon born or bred? I think we all dream of one day waking up and being an Archon. Given some of the madmen and loons that have exhibited mystical greatness, it can seem unfair that the rest of us can't do it. I can say with confidence, Archons aren't born, they become. Graven Ash is a good study of this. Before he was the Archon of War, he was a successful commander, each victory more daring and glorious than the next. Somewhere along the way, his leadership took him on a mystical qualities. The Graven Ash we know today can reach out and protect his soldiers from harm, but maybe at first he could just protect those near him. I wouldn't know for certain, but all will attest that he didn't have this power his whole life. Huh.
And I'd be happy to oblige. Ever since the fall of the Vellum Citadel, it is hard to find someone with whom I can discuss such things.
This is one of those point in times where the voicing stuff is awkward. Because only one of these lines so far actually got full voice dialogue through the whole entire thing. Anyways, what do you know of spellcraft?
I've forgotten more than most blood chanters have ever learned.
Now, too.
What do you want to know?
Can you teach me anything?
Most certainly. I probably should have shown you how to mend wounds sooner. If you have a moment, I can show you the healing sigil I was trained to use.
No time like the present. Rummaging through his scratches, the sage produces a long quill and corrupted piece of parchment. With 7 quick strokes of the quill, he inks a pattern on the page. Follow his instructions. Since this isn't your first cantrip, I'll move a little quickly. But I think you can keep up. Let me walk you through countless repetitions. Gain 5 control life skill ranks. And so if you need to heal pain as opposed to purge an infection, you'd move your hand like so. Okay. Thank you! God, the heal sigil! Anyways, I think. Anyway, what sort of magic did the sages teach you? The sage Sinden tutored me in the traditional sigils, those of preservation, concealment, and healing, as derived from the bygone archons of Therebus, fading wrath, and the orphan midwife. What kind of name is that? What the hell kind of name is that? Orphan midwife. I'm probably thinking too hard of that. Once again, here I go thinking a little too hard on something that probably shouldn't even need to be thought about. Anyways, the preservation magic is largely functional, sealing parchment, binding books, that sort of thing. All of us chroniclers learn concealment magic, as our ideal method would be to study events without contaminating the decisions being made. As for the healing magic, many of us modern sages study this a great deal. The school has a shoddy reputation among the common folk. I figured if they knew us as healers and caregivers, maybe we start to change opinions. Healing. Now that's a noble craft to study. Yeah, true, but given how accident-prone I can be, I think the person that benefits most from my magic is me. But certainly the most gratifying spells I know are the ones that ease pain and suffering. They make me feel slightly useful. What can you tell me about signing magic? Oh, 1 second, Jack. I've got to take care of something. 1 second. Boop, bada boop. Boop. Really? Huh. Huh. Okay. Well, anyways. Scholars don't have a good word for what archons do when they cast magic. Couldn't tell you how Graven Ash casts his protection over his soldiers, nor would I know how Bledden Mark consciously decides to move through a shadow. But when us mere mages want to cast a spell, we do so by signing the sigil of an archon that previously discovered the magical phenomenon in question. Oh, sigil of life. Yes. Restoring touch. That is fantastic. Anyways, I kind of want her to have more spells, please. Which one gives more? Grants bonus lore and additional spell slots. Anyway. Plus. What? Range 8 meters, area of effect. What? Allied target plus 4% health recovery. Oh. Oh god, we need to get people lore. Allied AoE. Plus 3% health radius. Pulse rate. Oh. Well, anyways. I might have to actually start working on her a bit more. She needs a lot of lore. Yeah, she needs a lot of lore before I can even work on those. Anyway. Hey, Corpse Eye. Can I have a word with you? Well, if it ain't the big bad boss, come to take a look at my wares. Handpicked from the finest of battlefield corpses, I can assure you. Scarlet Corpse members' milky dead eyes roll in their sockets as he bows deeply, mocking you. What'll it be, boss? Corpse Eye. Not really a name you come across every day. Unusual? Yeah. Fitting? You tell me. How'd you end up in the Scarlet Corpses? How does anyone not through piss poor luck? Now what happens when the corpse comes a calling at your door and you don't open it? Worse than this? But I figure I've made my way of things. Working for a Bayfinder now. What finer honor could there be, right? I mean, what do you think about the voices of Nerat? If I were a betting man, which I am now thanks to the chorus, I'd put my rings on Nerat, and any churl with two wits about him would do the same. Why do you fear him? He's got a real means of making his problems go away. Big or small. You don't want to be one of those problems, boss. Anyways, I'd like to talk. Sure, boss. You talk. I'll pretend to listen. I prefer one-sided conversation with figures of authority. Makes it real easy for me. Well, let's see what's in stock. What? That's a decrease in range. Wow. That's a giant boost in the two-handed, right? What? No, that's not a damn scythes are not one-handed. They are two. Get your facts right, game. Anyways. Let's see. Slightly more DPS, but a little bit more recovery. Huh. Okay. Okay. I suppose I could get this for him. Barbed fur mantle. Only kills in shadow conic. Only kills in shadow. Can equip this. Are we gonna get a companion named Only Kills in Shadow? Huh. Well then. Alright. That's just this is a 2-hand, right? Yep. A lot of damage though. However, I think I'm gonna go ahead and grab this. Boop. It is short range and armor pen is not great. Armor penetration reduces the effectiveness of the target's armor by a specific amount. So when a target with 5 armor is hit with an attack with armor penetration 2, the target can only use 3 armor to reduce the damage of the attack. Oh. So reduce both of these by 5 then. This goes to 15, this goes to 21. That's still much better. Boop and boop. Ooh. I don't think I'm ever going to use that, so boop. Well, thank you, sir. Probably actually should have waited for that. Anyways, Burley Smith draws his arm across his brow and nods to you. Kenrick Smelter, not quite a master, but getting there. I've never worked this high up before. First time for everything. Let's put you to work making me some weapons, shall we? Let me show you what I have already. Absolutely nothing. Huh. Holy crap, I'm almost 5 with him. Ha! Huh. Once per rest, though. Huh. Let's see what this guy has. Avenging Guard, Wrath 3. Yes, you want something from me? Oh, Wrath 5. Oh no. Wait, did we have a lot of favor with him? Oh, we probably lost it all because of how many Avenging Guards we killed. Anyway, show me what you have for sale. Oops. Let's see now. Operating hand. No. I mean, not bad. Not bad. Hey, what do? You're light armor. Okay.